And the car behind me just goes wham and hits us. Like literally I went, I'm like, Oscar worthy performance. Even your stopping, so don't book your driving test downtown. Don't. Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tari. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe before you go. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for all your support. You are the real MVP. In this video, I'll be talking about how to pass your driving test in Alberta, Canada. I'll also be giving you a little story. So guys, before I go into anything, I just wanted to issue this disclaimer. This is all my advice. My advice and my advice only. It is not the law, it is not the regulation, whatever. Take what you need and leave the rest, okay? This is what worked for me and it might not work for you. Simple. So before I go into anything, I just wanted to explain the classes. So first off, you need to have the class 7. So the class 7 is like the knowledge test. You have to sit like an exam and things like that. After passing the knowledge test, you get the class 7 license, which you need to hold for a year before you can take the road test. But some people can bypass that 1 year rule if they have like a license and you have held it for I think 2 years. I'm not sure exactly, but I think that's what it is. So after holding the class 7 for a year, whatever your situation is, you now get to do the road test for the basic class 5 license. I hope that and then after that you can now do the class 5 advanced test. Before moving to Canada, I had been driving in Nigeria for, let's say, about 2 years on and off whenever I had the chance to drive, right? At that time, I had a learner's permit and then I moved to the UK. And I had not swapped my learner's permit for like a full license before moving to the UK. And then getting to the UK, I mean, the UK is very different in the sense that driving is not a necessity. For the most part, it's a luxury. Like, you don't have to drive. Like, the transport system is very, very good. Like, you could take the train anywhere, and I loved taking the train, taking the bus. Like, it was not a big deal. So I didn't get a license as well, even though like I'll drive occasionally. Don't tell my mom. So driving wasn't one of the things that I thought I should do. Like, plus guys, the UK driving test is hard. Like, no jokes. UK driving test, the road test, is very hard. Like, people do it 5-6 times before passing. Like, guys, if you even Google hardest country to pass a driving test, the UK is one of them. Like, that's how hard it is. Like, I remember in the UK there was this particular Nigerian church, I won't say the name, that they used to organize like driving test prayer session. Like, guys, that's how deep it was. The UK driving test was hard and I was just like, you know what, I don't think I will do this thing. So I just left it for a bit and then I moved here. So I got to Canada and I realized, like, hey, the Canadian system is quite different. If you don't drive, you might suffer, especially in Calgary where I live. So I was like, okay, you know what, I need to get this thing sorted out. So because I didn't have a driver's license from Nigeria or the UK, I was told that I'll have to do the class 7 and then hold that class 7 license for a whole year before I could do the road test. Guys, like, that's one of my biggest regrets in this life. I was like, I should have sorted out my license from Nigeria, or I should have done the super hard test in the UK or something. So the first thing you need to pass is the class 7 knowledge test. People say it's like super easy, it's common sense. There's a handbook for a test. Read it, revise it. Make sure you don't just read to pass the exam. Like, actually read and understand, because all of the things in the book will help you when you actually get to the road. So all those signs, learn the signs so that you know what they mean. Like, you will actually need that knowledge. So I don't just advise people to just, you know, read to pass. Read and understand, know the signs. There's no reason why you should not know what yield means. Like, there's no reason why. So I would advise read and study. So I did that class 7 knowledge test, and to be honest, I passed it on the first go. Like I studied, like I took it very serious. I was going to the library every time. I studied and I passed it on my first go. So if you know you might have to hold the class 7 license for a whole year before you can do your road test, I advise you to have done your knowledge test yesterday. Like as soon as you can, do your knowledge test, because you're gonna have to wait a year. Now you may look at it and say, oh, a year is not so bad, it's just 12 months. I agree, but have you tried running for the bus in minus 35 degrees? Have you? It's long. 12 months is long. I had to wait, and I know what I'm saying. 12 months is very, very long. It's very restrictive. You can't really go anywhere and things like that. So aim to get your class 7 license as soon as possible. So after the long 1 year process of waiting, running for the bus, taking trains, I was now eligible to do my road test. So like I knew it was coming up, I knew the 1 year was coming up, and so I started to make preparations. By 10th month, I had started prepping, looking for driving schools to learn. Bear in mind, like I was not a new driver, like I wasn't somebody that had not entered a car. Like I had been driving in Lagos with my learner's permit, right? So I started to look for dates for my road test, and at that time there was something the government had changed, and then dates were very hard to get. Like you could not get a date for the next 2-3 months, and I was like, oh my god, I should have booked this thing like months ago. So I found a date that was just 2 weeks shy of my 1 year anniversary of holding the class 7 license. So I booked that date and I started to prepare. So that's another tip, like start early. Like once you're getting to like your 10th month, start looking for dates, because you never know, there might be a backlog or there might be a shortage of dates. I don't know why, but that's how it was at that time. So start early. In fact, start as soon as possible. As soon as you know that you can book a particular date after your 1 year, just book a date. Book it. By the 11th month, I found a driving school and I started classes. A lot of driving schools offer like 2-hour brush-up classes and things like that. I was like, please, I don't need any of those long classes. I don't need to be sitting there in any class or anything. So I was like, okay, I'm booking just a 2-hour session. Let me see how this thing works. So let me get to the big gist about how the accident happened. So I had booked a 2-hour session with the driving instructor near my house, and he came to my house. He came to pick me up, and he says, okay, we're going for a drive. Since you know driving, because they expect that you're coming for a 2-hour brush-up class, you know driving. So he's like, since you know driving, get behind the wheel. I'm like, okay. I was driving, we're just going, you know, cruising. He will say turn left, I'll turn left. He say turn right, I'll turn right. And then we're driving for like, let's say 15 minutes, and he says, oh, at the big intersection, turn right. I'm like, okay, no worries. So I switch lanes. So to turn right, there was a yield sign. So I had to yield to vehicles coming from the left. So obviously you have to look to be sure like there's no car on the left coming before you can move. So I'm like looking, and I proceed to go, but then a car comes speeding through the light. So I step on the brakes, and then the car behind me just goes wham and hits us. Like literally I went, I'm like, what happened? Like I'm in total shock, confusion, like so many things. I was just like, okay. Like the guy from the back apparently was looking at the light, and so when he saw that light had turned red, he wasn't even looking at the person in front of him, he just went. Bear in mind, like this guy's car was a massive truck. Like here they drive trucks a lot. This guy's car was a truck, and my driving instructor's car was like maybe a Toyota Camry. And this guy hit us, and so we kind of moved to the side of the road, and my instructor is like, okay, come down from the car. Are you okay? Are you okay? He's like, are you sure you're fine? Me, I'm still holding the steering like, yeah, I think I'm fine. He's like, okay, let's come down. So we get out of the car, and then the guy driving the truck is like, oh, are you okay? I'm so sorry, man. I'm so okay. I'm like, hurry up, Rudy. What do you mean that you're so sorry, man? I'm like obviously shaking, like guys, like I was shaking. I'm not gonna lie. He's like trying to justify. He's like, oh, I worked all night, blah, blah, blah. My driver's instructor was not even having it. He was like, if you worked all night and you're tired, drop your car and sleep somewhere. Like, you can't go and be hitting people. Like, he obviously wasn't paying attention. My driving instructor took pictures of his insurance document. The back bumper of my instructor's car was like scattered, that kind of thing, but it wasn't so bad. It was bad but not so bad. The impact was a lot, but I feel like the bumper really shielded everything basically. So I get back into the car. My instructor is like, are you okay? Are you fine? Do you think you can drive? I'm like, yeah, I think so. I was obviously shaking. So we continued and everything, and guys, let me not lie, like, having an accident on the first day driving is no jokes. It's really like, it really mad and scared me. Even now that I've been driving for a bit, when I get to those kind of intersections that I have to yield, and I remember that. So after that class, I was like, okay, even though it wasn't my fault, the guy behind me just rammed into me. I'm like, okay, I know how to drive, I understand how cars work, but I think I need more lessons. So I booked a couple more lessons. Like, so that's another tip. You assume that you know it because you've been driving from where you're coming from, but the rules are different, things are different. So practice, 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 practice. Book classes, don't be cheap about it. So I did, let's say, 8 hours with an actual instructor, and then for the other times I just got one of my friends to sit in the car while I drove, because I already had my class 7, right? So I was learning, I was practicing all the time. Like, I'll get my friend, I'm like, hey, please help me. I was practicing a lot. So I was saying in total I got maybe 20 hours of practice thereabouts, but 8 with an actual driving instructor. I was looking at the road test scheduling website, and I had seen like a test slot for like maybe 2 days after my 1-year anniversary, and I was like, what? There's a test for 2 days after my 1-year anniversary, and I had already booked something like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that. I was like, oh my goodness, I can get my license faster. This is just 2 days after my anniversary. I'm like, yeah, I'm taking that. So I took that test, and guys, please, 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 if you want to pass, don't book your driving test downtown. Don't. So that time slot that I had seen, it was for Madaloop Registry, downtown Calgary. And guys, mistake of my life, it was for 4 p.m. 4 p.m. is rush hour. Because I was just too happy that I had seen a time slot. Time slots were very hard to find. So I called my driving instructor, and that's another thing. If you don't have a car, you can rent your driving instructor's car. So I had called up my driving instructor like, hey, I've got this time slot at 4 o'clock. This is the registry. Can I rent your car and also do some brush up? So he said, okay, yeah, I can come at 2:30. So we practiced from like 2:30 to 4 p.m. when you go for your test, and then you use my car. So I paid the equivalent of like a 2-hour brush up session, and I rented his car for the test. So at that time he came and we drove, and then while we're driving to the registry, he's like, that's a very weird registry to book. I'm like, why? He's like, because it's like downtown. I'm like, yeah, is that a problem? He's like, even experienced drivers don't drive downtown. Like, he's like, downtown is pretty hard though. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, but you'll be fine. We'll practice, we'll go around so that you get to know the route. So by like, let's say 15 minutes of driving downtown, I knew why my driving instructor said driving downtown was hard. Guys, there are too many variables downtown. There's pedestrians, people are just walking like crazy people. There's bicycle paths, there's bicycle lane. The roads are like a bit smudged together, like the roads are smaller because it's downtown. There's buildings everywhere. There's so many playground zones. In fact, I was just like, hey God, this is not gonna be good. To be honest, my driving instructor was the most supportive, was the most encouraging. Get you a driving instructor that will encourage you, not one that will discourage you so that you keep coming back for more lessons. He wasn't like that. He was so positive. He's like, I'm sure you're a good driver, and if you pass this one, I'll give you a gift. But he took me around and we went through the route so many times. And guys, when it was time for my test, so the examiner got into the car, we started driving. By the time we were driving out of the registry, guys, it was rush hour because this was around 4 p.m. People were just everywhere. Different things were just happening. The traffic was insane. and then I was nervous because there were too many cars on the road. So, long and short of the story, I failed that test woefully. Like, I failed woefully, and I was, to be honest, I was just like me that I went to book my driving test downtown at 4 p.m. rush hour. What was I thinking? So yeah, I failed the first driving test, and I was just like, okay, now I know what the examiners expect and everything. And I was just like, you know what, everything was just setting me up for failure. So anyways, I took my L and I went back home. And guys, let me tell you, driving test is 50% safe driving and 50% acting. Like, you have to bring your most Oscar-worthy performance. Like, guys, now that I've been driving for a bit, when I need to look left, I look left, look right, maybe a little bit of shoulder check and things like that. But guys, when you're doing your driving test, you look left, look over your shoulder, look right, look over your shoulder, twist your neck 365 degrees, like you'll be looking and looking, because the examiner has to see your neck moving. Like, you have to be that extra. Shoulder check like 1 million times if possible. Like, I was over shoulder checking. Even when I'm 100% sure, like, that there is no car or nobody coming by my side, I was looking at the mirror, look at the mirror, shoulder check, shoulder, as in, you will be over shoulder checking. See, you have to act. Oscar-worthy performance. Even your stopping self. You know how you get to a stop sign and you have to stop? Now, when you're driving more, you just do one light stopping, rolling stop. You do the rolling stop. During your test, press the brake. Let the examiner shake. Let them know that you stopped though. Kind of like, I stopped though. I stopped. See, like I said, Oscar-worthy performance. Check dramatically, stop dramatically. Don't let the examiner fly out of the window, but you know, stop so that they shake a little bit. Yeah, so that's that. My second test came, and again I booked my driving instructor for 2 hours, booked his car as well. We got to the registry, and my driving instructor looked at the examiner and was like, ah, this guy's a good guy, he's a really good guy. The examiner got into the car and everything, does the normal story. They tell you a lot of things, check this light, check that, and then we started driving, and guys, it was a smooth one. So I did my second driving test at Southland Registry, which is somewhere like in the suburbs, sort of. And guys, it was a very smooth one. And then we got to the registry and he's like, oh, I really like your driving, here are some few improvements you can make. And he's like, yeah, you've passed. I was like, yeah, I passed, yeah. Guys, before my second driving test, I was praying. I was like, God, I need a good examiner. God, I need to pass this one, because it was harder to get another date. Like, the next date I could find was like in the next 2 or 3 months. I'm like, I can't wait 3 months during winter, jumping bus. I was like, God, no, I have to pass it this time. And so when he told me that I passed, I was like, thank you, Jesus. I was so excited, I was so happy. And that's another tip. See, when you're going for a driving test, maybe you shouldn't tell people. So with my first driving test, I told people and I didn't pass. I was just like, I would like to people that I didn't pass. But the second one, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go on my own, that kind of thing. I only told maybe just a handful of people. So when I came out and I passed, I was like, yeah. Second driving test, I had to take half of the day from work, and so I had to explain to like my manager at that time, like, I'm going for my driving test, that kind of thing. My manager told everybody in the office, oh, Tarila, where's Tarila? Tarila's gone for a driving test. Guys, thank God I passed, because the whole office, by the time I got back to work, the whole office was like, so did you pass? Did you pass? Did you pass? And I was like, yeah, I passed. Imagine if I had not passed. That would have been the gist for the whole office for the next couple of days. So I would say, don't tell too many people. If you have to tell people, maybe your close friends, just so that you can take your L in peace. So yeah, I passed that, I got my license, and I got a car maybe the next day. I was not joking, like I was too ready to drive. So yeah, there is no shame in failing a driving test. There's no shame, it's a test. People pass, people fail. as long as you learn from your failures and then improve. If it takes you 3 tries, it takes you 3 tries. Don't be ashamed of it, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't be nervous. So are you preparing for your driving test? What was your driving experience? Did you have any funny experience, or bad or good? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you pass your driving test if that's why you're watching this video. And please like, comment and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Only you cannot be watching my good content, okay? So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.